Okay, so today we are going to talk about planning in relationships and how different styles of planning can work together to work on shared goals and where they align and where there's challenges. So in order to talk about this today, I had to bring on my favorite special guest.
Had to?
I wanted you to be able to speak for
obligation.
yourself, yes.
Right, okay.
My husband, Sterling, in the present. We have been together for 10 years. We got married last fall, and we have lived all over the country together through different jobs together, school together, so we've gone through many different phases of our life. So anyway, we want to talk a little bit about how we plan or perhaps not plan together and how we approach that, and hopefully that'll be helpful for some of you. So first thing I wanted to talk about was our different styles of planning. So probably if you've read like any article on the blog, you know a little bit about my style of planning, but basically I like to focus on goals. I like to kind of break things down into smaller pieces and then schedule it out and do that in various regular time frames. So annually, monthly, weekly for sure. So that's some of my approach is really I like to think about what I want to do, then make a plan to get there, and then kind of do actions towards that. So that's kind of how I generally approach planning. Sterling, welcome to the Actually.
Thank you for having me.
Can you talk a little bit about how you like to approach planning?
By feeling mostly. If I feel like I'm getting too busy or too not relaxed, I stop planning, making plans.
Okay, and so if you're feeling inspired, you start to do something, then when you're feeling overwhelmed, you kind of adjust and stop. Is that how you would explain it?
Yeah, sure. I think that's fine. I don't plan like you do.
I know. But you're still able to get things done. So how do you do that if you don't have a plan? This is what I don't understand.
And you invented the plan to solve this riddle.
Yes.
I just do. You have to get stuff done, and sometimes plans are more trouble than they're worth.
Okay. So you can see we have kind of very different approaches. So one of the things we wanted to talk about was how with these clearly very different styles of planning or not planning,
Understatement.
How we are able to have shared goals as a couple. And so I think really a big approach to this for us has been thinking about just big picture goals typically rather than like detailed things, and then also aligning on our shared core values. So like a long time ago, well, I don't know, like 8 years ago, where was it? Somewhere like that. We read this book about core values in general, and kind of I did them and then Sterling did them, and then we looked at where they aligned and where maybe there were differences. And that has been something helpful for me going through our lives together to know. Core values are great.
I don't remember this. I'm sorry.
You don't remember?
No, clearly we've done it, but it's not like
Okay.
I just don't remember it.
Well, anyway, for me, learning about Sterling's core values and thinking about things in that perspective has been useful. So how do you think about our shared kind of bigger picture goals together and making like big life decisions? How do you think about that?
Like, what do you mean?
Like the things we want to accomplish when we've moved or when we've decided to go to school or like those kinds of things. Since we have different ways of like going after them, how do you think about that in the future of our lives together?
Oh, I don't know. I guess I don't think of things like that, obviously. I think for me, the things that you would consider like long-term, whatever have you, I just see as fulfilling an immediate need or fulfilling something else that we need to do. Like when we went to school and, you needed to advance in your degree field, right? And I needed to advance in mine. And so that was why we went to school. It wasn't like, 10 years from now or 8 years from now, we can afford to do this or blah, blah, blah. It was just like, this is what I'm planning to do right now, and that's that. Mm-hmm. And after that, we'll see what happens. But I'm never like thinking like 5 years ahead or 1 year ahead.
Okay, so I'm just thinking about it.
Yeah, just you.
Subtly leading you there.
No, I don't think you lead me there. I mean, well, maybe you do sometimes, but for the most part, I don't think things that way.
So you kind of wait for the opportunity to come up and then act on it.
Yeah, I'm super opportunistic. Yeah.
Okay. And then, I mean, I guess what I'm pretty much joking when I say I like subtly lead you somewhere, but I think I am keeping in mind,
Joke.
pretty much a joke. I am keeping in mind like the things that I know we both value because we talk about that all the time. We both value family, we both value security, we both value learning, community. So those are things that kind of influence, I think, what I think of as the vision of our future. So that seems to have worked pretty well.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay. So then we also just want to talk about a more specific kind of thing that we did recently that we planned together, which was our wedding. We got married. And yay. And so one thing we did for this that was super helpful for me, and I think for you as well, was really like pick 5 feelings we wanted our wedding to feel like. And so that we did at the very, very start of the planning process. And that was helpful throughout the rest of the time because we could always like center back on that. So that kept us really aligned on what we were trying to accomplish. Like if I was ever like, I don't know what to put on the tables, I think, well, what would feel like, what would support these feelings, basically. So
to be clear, I never once had that issue.
yeah, I know. But if we like had maybe a disagreement about something or weren't sure what to do with something, that was like a nice grounding place. And then we also had a mantra. Do you want to talk about that at all?
Oh, right, yeah. No, I mean, that's a weird way of setting it up. But, like, anytime, like, things got stressful or whatever have you, we kept coming back to this wonderful hashtag we created that wasn't, like, everybody else hated it except for us, I think. But it was, like, still getting married was the idea. Like, no matter what happens, hashtag we're still getting married. Like, so when you were freaking out over what
to put on the tables.
To put on the tables and what kind of what kind of cocktails were going to be there or whatever have you. Like, I did not care about those things at all. And so I said, whatever, like, that's on you, but we're still getting married. So when we'd have those conflicts, just circling back to still getting married.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was good because it, like, was... I like sort of the mission statement for our wedding. That sounds a little bit weird, but it was definitely like a centering thing that we could just remind ourselves of. And that's something we've done other times too. Like we've had these little like one phrase things that maybe don't make sense to anybody else.
Fearless and focused, the fish is alive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Almost certainly don't make sense to other people, but we have created them together and they remind us of like what is the real purpose of what we're doing. And so I think that's been really helpful when we plan something together. Like moves we plan together, we plan other things too, so.
I don't.
All right. Now, let's talk a little bit about how we have impacted each other with our different styles since we've been together. So, do you want me to go first or do you want to go first?
You go first, because I don't know.
Okay. So, for me, clearly I do like to plan, and I always have, and that still is the same, of course, since I've met Sterling. But I do feel like for sure Sterling has definitely helped me learn how to be more flexible. That has been a newer thing in my planning journey of making the plan, but then also being able to adapt and to kind of be fluid. And so even though that sometimes is still a challenge for me these days, I am so much better at it now than I used to be before I met Sterling. So that has definitely been something I've learned from being in a relationship with him. And then also I would say like a piece of, along with that very much is the idea of just kind of going with the flow, I suppose, where we have many times in our lives together had something happen that ended up being perfect, but we couldn't have really predicted it in advance. And so it just kind of like having some faith and having some trust that things will work out the way we want them to. And even if I can't see exactly what it is in the moment, I think is something that Sterling tends to be more naturally inclined to work that way. And that has been something I've learned over time.
Yeah, I think that's for the most part true. You still got a long ways to go in terms of elasticity, right?
Perhaps.
But definitely being in a relationship with you has helped me realize that not all plans are stupid. Most of them are. Because
you're not selling this very
well. No, hear me out.
Do you know what the blog is about?
Do you know what the blog is about? I think where a lot of people get in trouble is that they run into a lack of elasticity in their planning life, or they think they have to stick to this rigid schedule or this rigid idea of how events are supposed to go down, and they don't leave time for this is your circumstances right now, and you don't need to push this schedule. And I think when we first started dating, it was much more that, where you were
Sure.
really rigidly focused in planning. I remember a couple times when plans didn't come through that you broke down crying.
No, you probably messed them
We're
up.
completely. I'm thinking about like when your sister was supposed to come visit, and then you were like, she was supposed to. It's okay. Clearly, this affected me much more than it affected you. But yeah, I mean, you did help me. Like planning and having a planner in a relationship is beneficial because it's things that I don't want to deal with. So there are instances and times where you have thoughts and feelings on things, or you have set a goal and you need me to help you fulfill that goal, and sometimes that's in alignment with my feelings and sometimes it's not, but it always turns out to be, for the most part, okay.
Just okay.
Yeah, just okay. I tend to get frustrated, I think, more than anything else, when you absolutely have to get something done and I don't feel that pressure, but you've set it in your head to get it done. But I do respect that you are that kind of person and that you need people like me to de-stressify you.
Yeah. I mean, I would say I definitely feel like you also have made a lot of things happen yourself as well. And so maybe it's not in a structured plan, like going to school, like getting various jobs throughout your career, like getting shows and gigs and things like that. Like there are definitely times where you have taken things into your, like even, I mean, honestly, like moving to where we are right now, you took a lot of initiative in that as well. So I think there are definitely ways that you do that too.
Well, let's go back to the moving thing, because that was like its own, we'll say, a conflict zone, right? Because remember, like, when we were in the previous place, and we were trying to move, and we knew we had to move, we knew we wanted to move, but you kept finding places and I kept shooting them down because they didn't feel right, and that was super frustrating for you because you're planning and scheduling all this time and doing all this work, and it always just felt like I was vetoing things. But then by happenstance, right, because we were elastic, we found the place that we absolutely love and got in before anybody else because that was a freak occurrence, and that worked out, and it wouldn't have happened otherwise.
I mean, that's definitely an example of where things are working well, right? Because you on your own probably wouldn't have even just moved, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I probably would have just stayed put.
Yeah, and I was trying to find a place, and then you were trying to kind of like find the right feel of a place, I guess. And so the two things together
I am super
worked out
pretty
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what we're finding.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything else to say about how positively I've influenced your
I
life?
feel like I didn't really talk about that very much.
No, so talk about it.
You definitely have made my life easier. Like, I've never before had I considered like doing like meal planning and stuff like that, or learning how to cook. But having you around, helping me and telling me, what do you want for lunch? Making me think about it ahead of time, making me think ahead of time, but not making me focus on what's coming up, has been really beneficial for me, because I get an idea and then you're like, well, would you like this or this thing? And it's like, oh yeah, that does sound nice. And it's all because you're interested in the planning aspect. And I was like, I wouldn't have had these things if it wasn't for Louisa. Is that helpful?
Sure, yeah. All right. I think that's a lot of what we wanted to cover. So I guess a big takeaway, like, we will always be different people, clearly, and have different priorities and ways that we approach and make decisions, and
especially with regards to free time.
Sure, yeah. Well, do you want to talk about free time? What do you mean?
No, I was just saying, you're very productive in your free time, and I'm the opposite of productive, more focused on the relaxation.
Sure.
Yeah.
So different approaches for sure, but I think hopefully we've shown that the ways the two things come together actually is really great. So like free time, like I will usually push us to try to be, and me specifically, to be productive. Sterling will push us to relax, and often we find a really great middle ground between the two things. And so sometimes there's conflict with that, of course, but I think having the two different approaches exist in our relationship has been really great for us, and ultimately like has helped us create a life that we really love. So any closing thoughts from you? Cool. Well, thanks for being on the blog, Sterling, and we'll catch you all soon. Bye.